The convention hall will come to order. We are now holding the fourth session of the 92nd Oregon FFA State Convention. Mr. Vice President, are all officers at their stations?
I shall call the roll of officers, determine if they're at their stations, and report back to you, Mr. President. The Sentinel.
Stationed by the door.
Your duties there?
Through this door pass many friends of the FFA. It is my duty to see that the door is open to our friends at all times and that they are welcome. I care for the meeting room and paraphernalia. I strive to keep the room comfortable and assist the president in maintaining order.
The reporter.
The reporter is stationed by the flag.
Why by the flag?
As the flag covers the United States of America, so I strive to inform the people, in order that every man, woman, and child may know that the FFA is a national organization that reaches from the state of Alaska to the Virgin Islands, and from the state of Maine to Hawaii.
The Treasurer.
Stationed at the emblem of Washington.
Your duties there?
I keep a record of receipts and disbursements, just as Washington kept his farm accounts, carefully and accurately. I encourage thrift among the members and strive to build up our financial standing through savings and investments. George Washington was better able to serve his country because he's financially independent.
The Secretary.
Stationed by the ear of corn.
Your duties there?
I keep an accurate record of all meetings and correspond with other secretaries wherever corn is grown and FFA members meet.
The Advisor.
Here by the owl.
Why stationed by the owl?
The owl is a time-honored emblem of knowledge and wisdom. Being older than the rest of you, I'm asked to advise you from time to time as the need arises. I hope that my advice is always based on true knowledge and ripened with wisdom. Mr. Vice President, why do you keep a plow at your station?
The plow is a symbol of labor and tillage of the soil. Without labor, neither knowledge nor wisdom could accomplish much. My duties require me to assist at all times in directing the work of our organization. I preside over meetings in the absence of our president, whose place is beneath the rising sun.
Why is the president so stationed?
The rising sun is a token of a new era in agriculture. If we follow the leadership of our president, we shall be led out of the darkness of selfishness and into the glorious sunlight of brotherhood and cooperation. Mr. President, all officers are at their stations.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The Secretary will call the roll of members.
I am pleased to announce that at this, the fourth session of the 92nd Oregon FFA State Convention, we have over 12,000 members, advisors, and guests viewing.
Thank you. FFA members, why are we here? To practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, and develop those qualities of leadership which an FFA member should possess. May we accomplish our purposes. I now declare this session duly open for the transaction of business or attention to any matters which may properly be presented. Welcome back to the live stream of the 92nd Oregon FFA State Convention. Our fourth session chair is almost as proud to be a rodeo queen as she is of her strange ability to find the perfect coffee shop. Hailing from Eastern Oregon, please help me welcome our State Secretary, DEIDRE SCHREIBER, to the stage.
Now, anybody who knows me knows that I am a big fan of my homeboy, Bob Ross. From his curly hair to squirrel nurturing, and those soothing landscape painting tutorials. Pretty crazy that he was featured on public television for 11 years, creating more than 30,000 paintings during that time. Nearly all of his paintings featured a little signature we know and love: happy little trees. Bob also obviously had a heart for service, as nearly all of his paintings were donated to PBS stations or local charities. Just like Bob Ross's legacy wouldn't have been possible without the support of PBS, our session today wouldn't be possible without the support of our session sponsor, Burbanza Ranch, and star partner, Les Schwab. In this session, we have the opportunity to recognize the success of our alumni and members, as well as create our own Bob Ross masterpiece here on stage. We'll be creating our masterpiece by recognizing our State Alumni Council and hearing a presentation of the FFA Creed. We'll add in a few more brushstrokes as we hear the results from our State Ag Youth Awareness Contest and hear a special message from our keynote speaker, Kent Julian. Before we put our signature on this session, we'll hear from our State Treasurer, Keegan Gibbs, as he presents his retiring address titled, "Focus on What You can control. Let's grab our animal friends and our palette and get ready to paint some happy little trees in session number 4. Now, one of the first things that Bob Ross does to prepare his canvas at the beginning of every tutorial is add a base coat. Oil paint is unique because it needs a media to blend the colors together and make sure that we cover the entire surface. Let's add that layer. Let's add that layer to our canvas now. Just like our painting needs a foundation to build on, we need the same background guiding our organization. These dedicated and supportive individuals make up our State Alumni Council, who direct the work of alumni chapters in our state, support local affiliates as they support local ag teachers, sponsor scholarships, and provide volunteer resources to the state association. Now, I think this painting could use a little national blue here and a touch of corn gold there to add to our background. Let's meet our State Alumni Council. President, Tom Rutledge. President-elect, Eric Karn. Past President, Swede Salo. Treasurer, Christy Hartzell. Secretary, Debbie Price. Reporter, Emily Badalega. Regional Vice President, Terry McKenzie. Regional Vice President, Carrie Kelly. Regional Vice President, Brianna Tanaka. Regional Vice President, Miles Ralston. Regional Vice President, Cliff Bergstrom. FFA Association Representative, Lee Lech. And Foundation Representative, Sean Dooley. It is because of the behind-the-scenes work of these individuals that our organization and our members are creating legacies every day. Let's express our gratitude to our State Alumni Council. Now the next, and probably one of the most recognizable pieces of every good Bob Ross painting, is those happy little clouds. I think we should add in a few of those to our painting now. Just like the clouds rise out of the background to tie the whole painting together, we have a whole community in FFA that works in the background to ensure that we are as prepared and successful as possible. They're leaders in their alumni chapters and in their communities. Oftentimes, their involvement and service spills over into other organizations that support young people as well. This next individual has taken their work to another level. Every year, the council selects an outstanding individual to recognize for their leadership and service to agricultural education, FFA, and the FFA alumni. We are pleased to recognize Robert Schmittig from the SCIO FFA alumni and supporters as the 2020 Oregon FFA Outstanding Alumni Individual. Mr. Schmittig serves as a link to the poultry industry for FFA chapters. He is one of the first people to volunteer to judge contests or help members. He's coached multiple teams at the chapter and state level. It's easy to see that he's a shining example of what our alumni members are doing in their chapters. Congratulations, Robert Schmittig. Now, the next thing that we need to add into our painting are some big focal points. My favorite focal points are mountains because they remind me of home. So let's add in a couple of those mountains now. Just like mountains are the first big thing in our painting, giving the FFA Creed was one of the first big things we did in FFA. I remember the weight of memorizing that entire page and the jitters I felt right before taking the microphone to recite the 5 paragraphs outlining our organization's beliefs. But most vividly, I remember my little brother, Devin, beginning to recite pieces along with me at home because I had practiced it so many times. Well, taking the first step and giving that FFA Creed might have felt like we were about to climb Mount Everest. All that hard work definitely paid off in the end. We'll now have a presentation of the FFA Creed by Cody Neuschwander, Jasmine Clevenger, and Haley Jones from the Crater FFA chapter.
The FFA Creed by E.M. Tiffany. I believe in the future of agriculture. with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. Achievements won by the present and past generations of agriculturists, in the promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years.
I believe that to live and work on a good farm, or to be engaged in other agriculture pursuits, is pleasant as well as challenging, for I know the joys and discomforts of agricultural life, and hold an inborn fondness for those associations, which, even in hours of discouragement, I cannot deny.
I believe in leadership from ourselves and respect from others. I believe in my own ability to work efficiently and think clearly with such knowledge and skill as I can secure, and in the ability of progressive agriculturists to serve our own and the public interest in producing and marketing the product of our toil.
I believe in less dependence on begging and more power in bargaining, in a life abundant and enough honest wealth to help make it so, for others as well as myself, in less need for charity and more of it when needed, in being happy myself and playing square with those whose happiness depends upon me. I believe that the future of agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that I can exert an influence.
I can exert an influence.
I can exert an influence
In my home and community, which will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task. Thank you.
Thank you to Cody, Jasmine, and Haley of the Crater FFA chapter. Just like Bob Ross had a passion for teaching individuals how to paint, our next individuals have a passion for educating others. The purpose of the Ag Youth Awareness Awards is to encourage community agriculture awareness products in Oregon high schools and their ag programs. Some high school chapters might read an ag-related book to elementary schoolers, do a ag-related activity in younger students' classrooms, or even put on a petting zoo. Let's meet this year's recipients. Thank you to our award sponsor, Ag in the Classroom, and our star partner, Northwest Farm Credit Services, for their support of this contest. And now for the results. In fourth place, the North Clackamas FFA chapter. North Clackamas FFA increases agricultural awareness in their community by coordinating an annual all-day event called Red Barn Baby Day. Utilizing their land lab, their chapter invites the community to visit and interact with young livestock. Animals that are not normally on the land lab, such as horses, a dairy calf, and a couple of goat kids, were brought by community partners to help introduce attendees to these animals. In addition to the animal aspects of this event, North Clackamas FFA teaches community members about crops through a fun popcorn tree. FFA members provide visitors with popcorn and teach them about how popcorn is grown and the process it takes to go from farm to store. Instead of an entry fee, FFA members encourage visitors to bring toiletry items, which are donated to the Wichita Center. This project works to increase agricultural literacy and brings essential items to community members who are struggling. This all-day event reached just over 2,000 community members and educated them on various aspects of agriculture. Congratulations, North Clackamas FFA. In third place is the Amity FFA chapter. The Amity FFA chapter participated in several activities throughout the year to help increase agricultural literacy within their school and community. In conjunction with National FFA Week, Amity FFA members announced an agricultural-related fact in each day's announcements and provided staff with a goodie bag that featured an agricultural product. In addition, FFA members planned an all-school assembly to engage students in the agriculturally based activities. With fundraising efforts, the Amity FFA students organized an educational event celebrating Red Nose Day, an event to encourage help in ending child poverty, one nose at a time. Amity FFA taught students about world hunger crisis and the role agriculture and their community has to help solve the problem. FFA members purchased red noses to help students recognize the hunger crisis. In addition to increasing agricultural literacy to their peers, Amity FFA organizes an Ag Day for their grade school. During the event, students visit several stations where they engage in hands-on activities, including topics related to wildland fire prevention, grain, plants, pollination, and animals. Geared towards families in the community, Amity FFA members participate in the Yamhill County Heritage Center Harvest Fest, where they display animals and interact with the public, increasing agricultural awareness to a wide variety of ages. Congratulations, Amity FFA. In second place is the Lost River FFA chapter. Lost River FFA chapter has increased their agricultural awareness in their community through partnering with local events to teach students about agriculture, hatching fertilized chicken eggs, participating in the annual Oregon Agriculture in the Classroom Literacy Project, coordinating an ag field day, and raising livestock to help provide their school cafeteria for student lunches. FFA members visited with community members at the Klamath Basin Farm Expo, teaching them about potatoes and leading several interactive booths for young people. At the local carnival event, Lost River FFA members worked to increase agricultural literacy through teaching students how to make turf buddies, highlighting a very important industry in Oregon. As part of their farm inventory, Lost River FFA worked to hatch 120 fertilized eggs while educating local elementary students on poultry and increasing their chapter's flock. Teaching local students about the importance of engineering concepts in agriculture, FFA members brought the John Deere, That's Who literacy project to elementary students. Additionally, Lost River FFA has planned and coordinated an ag field day geared towards elementary schools in their area, teaching students about agriculture through activities such as pumpkin pie in a bag, making corn plastic, ag commodity relay, and garden in a glove. Most recently, the Lost River FFA chapter has begun raising and harvesting steers to be utilized in their school cafeteria, in addition to the eggs from their chicken flock. These programs have given FFA members educational opportunities to teach young students and community members about agriculture. Congratulations, Lost River FFA. And in first place is the Sutherland FFA chapter. Sutherland FFA has worked to increase agricultural literacy in a variety of capacities and geared educational opportunities toward a multitude of ages in their projects last spring. In celebration of National FFA Week, several chapter members visited elementary school classes in grades K through 6 to teach agriculturally based lessons, adapting activities to each grade level they were teaching. In partnership with the local intermediate school, Sutherland FFA taught students about plant care, artificial pollination, harvesting, and much more through vertical aeroponics growing systems. At the end, students indulged in a salad party, harvesting the crops they planted. At their local fair, their chapter showcased their FarmBot, a computer-ran machine that can plant, water, and harvest based on programming. Throughout the entire fair, an FFA member was present at the booth to talk with fairgoers about the future of agriculture and the importance of computer science and engineering. In addition to the spring events, Sutherland FFA has been busy this fall coordinating lessons at both their primary and intermediate schools to teach them about agriculture through activities such as bioplastics, germination, and networking in agriculture. The culmination of these projects has provided FFA members with the opportunity to reach a substantial amount of community members, increasing their agricultural literacy through various avenues. Congratulations, Sutherland FFA. Let's extend our gratitude to the Ag Youth Awareness sponsor, Ag in the Classroom, and star partner, Northwest Farm Credit Service. We now have the opportunity to hear from keynote speaker Kent Julian. He's a professional speaker, dual business owner, committed family man, fish taco lover, and proud bald guy. We're excited to hear from him. Let's welcome to the screen Mr. Kent Julian.
Greetings, Oregon FFA. It's Kent Julian again, and it's great to be with you. And today I want to give you the second gift that I promised you. Now, yesterday I gave you the gift about how do you live up to your potential, and I challenged you to take steps, because what we believe in is evidenced by the steps we take, not by the words we say. So whatever your dream is, I want to challenge you to step into the dream, to be like Sean and shout at the top of your lungs, I love Wawa, and take your step. But I also want to, this morning or today, I want to make sure that I get gut level honest with you. Every speaker you'll ever hear, every motivational speaker like me you'll ever hear, will share with you a story and challenge you to take a step. We all do it, and it's because it's great information, but we all have that story about stepping into our dreams, about living up to our potential, and it's so important, but it's just half the story. It's just half the gift. And if you don't receive the other gift, then someday some event will occur in your life that will totally blindside you, and it'll keep you from moving from dream to do. And so today I want to give you a gift that's actually going to help you move from dream to do, that will actually help you be successful no matter what circumstances, no matter what challenging events you have to face in life. And so to give you this gift, I want you to imagine something with me. I want you to imagine that you are living a dream life. Now, I don't know what your life is like right now, but I know we can all imagine what a dream life would feel like right now, where you have great friends and you're getting along with your friends. You're doing well in school. You've got a future and you're thinking about your future and you're moving towards your future and it's exciting and you know you're going to be able to make it. I want you to just imagine for a second what that would feel like. And then, now I want you to imagine that you go from living a dream life to fighting for your life within 1 month. Imagine how scared you would be. Imagine what would be going on in your mind and what would be going on in your heart if you go from living a dream life to actually being in the ER, fighting for your life, not knowing whether you'd survive or not. Imagine how scared you would be as over that month period, every single day you start feeling yourself get weaker and weaker and weaker. And even your friends start to notice and they say, "What's wrong? What's going on? What's wrong with you?" And you don't know how to answer them because you don't know, your parents don't know, nobody knows. Imagine how scared you would be to wake up in the emergency room after passing out, and you don't see one doctor, you don't see one nurse, you see over a dozen medical professionals, and they're running around the room and they're hooking you up to machines and they're drawing blood. And imagine how afraid you would be if the last thing you hear before you pass out again is the word coma. Now, what would be going through your head? What would be going through your heart if when the next time you woke up, you're in a different room, you're in a hospital room, and there's one doctor and there's one nurse, and your parents are sitting with them, and you can tell your parents have been crying, their eyes are swollen, there's tear stains on their cheek. And the doctor basically says these very words to you: "I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is we were able to stop you from going into a coma. And people who have your condition, who go into a coma, they often don't come out. So that's really good news. But I also have bad news for you. And the bad news is this: you have a lifelong disease that you'll never get rid of." Well, my friends, that actually really happened to one of my daughters. I have 3 children. I have a son named Chris, and then I have 2 twin girls named Mackenzie and Kelsey. And when Kelsey was 11 years old, what I just described to you actually happened in her life. And I'm going to tell you about the disease that she has to deal with every day of her life now. I'm going to tell you about that disease. But here's the deal. I don't want you to focus on the disease. I want you to focus on the mindset that helped Kelsey deal with this and helps her deal with it every single day. So my daughter was diagnosed at the age of 11 with a disease called type 1 diabetes. And you've probably heard of diabetes before, but most of the diabetes we hear about is type 2 diabetes. It's diabetes that happen to us when we're older, and we can kind of control it with the way we eat and with medicine, and the disease comes on gradually. Type 1 diabetes is totally different. It's very rare. It happens in most of the people it happens to, happens at 20 years old and younger. That's why it's called juvenile diabetes, and it doesn't come on gradually. Her body attacked itself and literally killed her pancreas. In fact, we could cut her open, we could take her pancreas, and we could throw it away because it doesn't work. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that for Kelsey, starting at 11 years old, whenever she ate any food, or whenever she woke up, or whenever she wasn't feeling well, she would have to prick her finger and take blood. And she had to figure out how much sugar her body needed, because our bodies keep our sugar between 80 and 150. Well, hers doesn't do that anymore. In fact, when she went into the hospital, her blood sugar was over 800. That's why she almost went into a coma. And so she's got to manually keep her blood sugar between 80 and 150. And so in order to do that, she pricks her finger, takes blood, figures out how much insulin she needs, and then she gives herself a shot. Not one shot a week, not one shot a day. She has to give herself 5, 6, 8 shots every single day to try to keep her blood sugar in that range. It's a very, very serious disease, and here's the deal. If she goes too high or she goes too low, she can pass out, she can throw up, but the biggest deal is the long-term effects of type 1 diabetes. If she constantly is going too high or constantly is going too low, by the time she's a young adult, in her 20s or 30s, she could go blind. By the time she's a young adult, her organs could start shutting down. By the time she's a young adult, she could have fingers, toes, arms, and legs amputated. It's an extremely serious disease. Now, that's the disease, but that's not what I want you to focus on. This is what I want you to focus on. Kelsey had the exact same decision that you and I face every single day. We just don't know we're always facing it because it's not in our face that often. And her decision was, is she going to live an E equals O mindset or an E plus R equals O? She had a decision that we all have to make between two mindsets. And the first mindset is this, it's E equals O. And it stands for this, the events in our life equal the outcome. So here's the deal, when we believe E equals O, then we are guaranteed, now listen, guaranteed to fail. Guaranteed. Because the problem is, we're saying if events in our life go well, and by the way, we don't control the vast majority of events in our life. If the events go well, then guess what? Then our outcomes will be good. But the moment an event doesn't go our way, the moment we get a lifelong disease, the moment somebody talks behind our back, the moment somebody doesn't treat us fairly, the moment the economy crashes, all these events that we don't control, the moment those events don't go our way, then it ruins our outcome. E equals O guarantees you'll be a victim in life. E equals O guarantees you'll never move from dream to do, and you'll eventually fail in life. It guarantees it. And yet E equals O is what we all tend to believe. In fact, personally, I have to fight believing E equals O. Because when something doesn't go right in my life, I instantly want to point the finger at the E and blame the event. But there's a second mindset that guarantees that we can be successful no matter what we face. It guarantees that we can move from dream to do no matter what events we have to face. And that second equation is adding one simple letter, E plus R equals O. And when we add that one letter, it changes everything. And the R stands for this, the events in our lives, which we don't control, plus the one thing we have 100% control over, our response, equals the outcome. And by controlling our response, by not focusing on the event, but saying, this is how I choose to respond to that event, we can take our most difficult events and we can turn them into a positive outcome. We can take our greatest adversities and we can turn them into our greatest advantage. Instead of getting bitter about the events, we can become better by controlling one thing, our response. And I really want you to hear this. Notice, I'm not talking about your reaction, because reactions are almost always impulsive. They're almost always emotional, and they're almost always are vindictive. And when we react to an event, a response, however, is thoughtful. A response is purposeful. A response is taking an action or saying a word that says, I'm going to make this, even though this is a very, very challenging event, I'm going to do something to turn it around, to turn it into a positive outcome. E plus R equals O. Events plus my response determines the outcome. And I just want you to know that if you want to be successful in life, you've got to live E plus R equals O. It's the only way you become the victor instead of the victim. And I want to wrap it up by just telling you what happened to Kelsey. Kelsey was in the hospital for about 7 days. An 11-year-old girl. Her world was turned upside down. Just turned upside down. And I'll never forget the day she came home from the hospital. I met her at the doorway. She's just a little 11-year-old girl at the time. And I actually got down on one knee when she came over to me, and I gave her a hug. And you got to understand a dad's heart here. For me, this was the first time that something happened to my daughter that I couldn't do anything about. My heart was broken. And so I hugged my Kelsey girl and I said, Kelsey, do you know Daddy loves you? And she said, yeah, Dad. And this just came to my head because I wanted her to know that I wish I could do something about this. And I looked her in the eyes and I said, honey, if I could somehow reach inside of you and I could find that type 1 diabetes and I could pull it out of you and I could put it inside of Daddy so that Daddy could take your type 1 diabetes and Daddy could take all your shots for the rest of your life, do you know I would do that for you? And my friends, that meant a lot to my daughter because the number one thing she was scared about with type 1 diabetes was giving herself shots. She hated shots. And so I was telling her, I wish I could take that away, and I would if I could. And I go, do you know that, Kelsey? And she said, yeah, Daddy, I do. And then she tapped my little bald head, and she went off and played. Now, guys and girls, I wish you could have been there. That was such a meaningful experience for Kelsey and I, that I started to tell her that a lot. Not all the time, but I probably would say that to her once a month. I'd say, honey, if I could take your type 1 diabetes away, and I'd just have that conversation with her once a month. But one day when she was 14 years old, she said something to me, and I've never, ever said that to her again. I've never told her I wanted to take her type 1 diabetes away. Because I pulled her over and I said, hey, Kelsey girl, I just want to tell you again, I wish somehow I could take your type 1 diabetes. And she looked me in the eyes and she said, Dad, stop saying that. I was like, what are you talking about? I said, honey, if I could somehow grab your type 1 diabetes, I could pull it out of you and I could put it in me. And she looked at me and she said, Dad, stop saying that. And we went on to have a conversation. And in our house, we wear these wristbands that say E plus R equals O. And on the back, they say, I own my response. And my daughter basically said to me, she pointed to her wristband and she said, Daddy, E plus R equals O. Daddy, I don't want you to take my type 1 diabetes away. Daddy, I've become better because of my type 1 diabetes. And so I'm telling you, if my daughter was sitting down with you right now, if Kelsey was sitting down with you, she would look at you and she'd say this. If you really want to move from dream to do, yeah, you got to step into your dreams. Yeah, you've got to live what you believe. You've got to, what you believe in is evidenced by the steps you take, not by the words you say. But she'd say, that's not enough. What you really need to do is make sure every day you put on an E plus R equals O mindset. That you don't fall victim to living E equals O. That you don't always look at your events, but instead you look to yourself and you live E plus R equals O, because it's events plus your response that determines the outcome. You do that, and you'll be able to move from dream to do no matter what challenges you face in life.
Thank you, Mr. Julian, for inspiring us to take ourselves from dream to do, and encouraging ourselves to be better instead of bitter. We appreciate your kind words. To introduce our next speaker, please help me welcome Macy and Garrett Gibbs for a special presentation.
Good morning, Oregon FFA. Growing up, I couldn't have imagined not having a younger brother, even if I always secretly wanted a sister. I have had the honor of watching you grow into the young man you are today. Being the youngest, you've always gotten the short straw, but you've always made the best of it. I've learned from you to make the best of all situations. You've given back to the community that has given back to us and has raised us. For being the overachiever of the family, I couldn't imagine you any other way. This year has truly made a huge impact on yourself, but also on Oregon FFA. The smile and laughter you bring into a room is incredible. And as you begin your next chapter, I'm excited to watch you where life takes you and watch you as you grow and impact many young hearts through your passion.
Words can't describe how proud I am of you. Watching you grow up has been nothing short of a privilege. Being the youngest of 3 kids isn't always easy. But as you grew, I got to watch your passion for FFA and agriculture grow. FFA is full of amazing possibilities, and throughout your time in FFA, you have taken advantage of so many opportunities that have helped shape the man you are today. From traveling around the state to traveling the world, you have so much in store for you.
From Genevieve from the Heppner FFA chapter. Keegan, I have known you my whole life. And let me tell you, I have never met someone with as much personality as him. When he made the decision to run for state office, I knew he would be perfect for him. He always has been packing jokes and can roast just about anybody that comes his way. And I'm sure we've all heard a story or two about his dog, Nugget. Nevertheless, he has the biggest heart and a drive for success and offers great friendship. Keegan has supported me through so much, and it is my turn to support him this past year. He hasn't disappointed. I have loved watching my best friend do so many amazing things, and I know his future holds so much. I hope Keegan has touched your life as much as he has touched mine. Oregon FFA, it is an honor that we present you, our little brother, and her best friend, your 2019-2020 Oregon FFA State Treasurer.
Keegan Gibbs.
there I was, getting ready for my first day of first grade. I had a brand new outfit from the toes up. Brand new blue and white Nikes, Nike Elite socks, cargo shorts, t-shirt, and a hoodie. Long story short, I was dressed to impress. With my new outfit on and a full belly of Nutella and toast, a strong urge to go number one hit me. I had to find the closest bathroom or my new outfit would be ruined. I ran to the bathroom, but my mom was doing her makeup. And ew, cooties. So I had to find the closest bathroom. I ran downstairs, but my brother had just woken up and was showering. You know what that meant? I only had one option. The bushes. I went outside, looked to the left, looked to the right, make sure no one could see me. The only thing in sight was my dog, Nugget. So I knew that I was in clear to do my business. I got ready, and my dog Nugget lifted his leg and peed all over my brand new outfit. I was furious. I still remember being mad that entire day. That day, I had two choices I could make. Let that one little thing ruin the rest of my day, or look at it as a joke and get ready for my first day of school. That day, I chose wrong. My reaction to the situation made it worse when it could have gotten better. All I had to do was react differently. Laugh, go change clothes, get ready to see my friends. Every day, we have a choice we can make. Respond positively with humor and a smile, grit and determination. Or respond negatively with a bad attitude, ready to complain, give up, and be angry. What impact will your response have on others or the world around you? Have you ever heard the saying, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction? No matter how impossible it may seem, we all control that reaction we have. I never saw this saying come to life more than my sophomore year of high school football. My sophomore year of football was amazing. We had just won the 2015 state championship, and we started the season off strong with a record of 14-1 by the end of the regular season. The playoffs started with high hopes of winning our first two games to make it to the semifinal game. This was the biggest game of the season. The winner would be playing in the state championship. The game started off against a talented team from Regis High School. We kicked off, and our defense stopped Regis almost immediately to get the ball back. Within minutes, we scored a touchdown to gain the lead. When we kicked off a second time Regis' offense started scoring left and right. They played with passion, and by the time halftime came, we were down by 14. In the locker room, Coach looked at us and said, "Boys, right now they deserve to win. They want to win more and are playing harder. This game is yours. You just need to go get it." The mentality of the team changed in an instant. Right before we left the locker room, senior linebacker Kevin Murray told the team, "Boys, let's go out there and win this game. Act like the score is 0-0 and play your hearts out. They might be bigger than us, but no one has a bigger heart than this team right here." I knew something great was about to happen when we stepped on that field for the last two quarters. The second half was a totally different ball game. We played hard, left our hearts on the field, and by the time that final buzzer rang, the better team won. Even though we played hard, we couldn't control the fact that they were bigger, better, and more talented. Regis went on to win the state championship that they deserved that year. I had so many thoughts going through my head on the way back to the locker room. How could we lose? How could our season end in such a heartbreaking way when everyone tried so hard? I wonder how Coach will react. I wonder how the seniors will react. Will they be angry? Will they be sad? Oh my gosh, what about Kevin? He told us that we could win and everyone looked up to him, and we didn't. Last year he was on an undefeated football team, and now he will never play football again. He's going to be so disappointed in us. When I walked into the locker room, I couldn't make eye contact with Kevin or any of the other seniors. No one could. Until Kevin stood in front of the team and surprised us all. He told us that last year he was on an amazing team, but that this year was more special. He told us that our community members didn't believe in us, but we banded together as brothers and proved to them wrong. He said that we should be sad that our season's over, but we should be prouder of what we accomplished as a team. And then Kevin said a sentence I will never forget. He looked at us and said, "Boys, we can't control the fact that we just lost that football game, but we can control our reaction. Are you going to put your head down and sulk? Are you going to move on and look back on a great season?" Wow. He must have taken that right out of a football scene. He held his head high and was the leader that we all needed. In that moment, Kevin didn't let fear control his reaction. See, fear is what makes us focus on what we can't control. Your fear may be different than mine, but we all have them. Fear of being disliked, fear of being judged, fear of failure forces us to waste our energy. Fear is completely natural, but it's how you respond to that fear that determines who you are. The summer of my junior year, I was presented with a great opportunity to travel to Australia to work on a sheep farm for 2.5 months. I was terrified to travel across the world and live with a family I had never met in person. My first week in Australia, I knew I didn't make a good impression. I hid in my room if I wasn't working and tried with connecting with people back home. The fear I felt in my first week in Australia reminded me of the fear I felt my 4th grade year, when I was consumed by fear and anxiety. It overtook my life so much that I decided I should see a counselor. Now, as a 17-year-old halfway across the world, I remembered a simple phrase that my counselor told me. She said, "Keegan, don't let fear consume you. Who cares what others think? You can only control what you do." In that moment, I decided to make the most of this opportunity. I tried connecting with my host family and community members around me and was welcomed with open arms. If I let fear take control, I never would have experienced a new culture and learned different agricultural practices. If I let fear take control, I never would have grown as a leader and become more independent. How will you overcome your fear? Will you run for an office? Will you stop hanging around negative influences? Will you be more vulnerable around those who care about you? No matter what it is you do to overcome that fear, no, it won't happen overnight. It takes time, but you'll better as a person because of it. We can't control others' actions, but we can always control our own reaction. When we start to take control, we not only control those reactions, but we start to control our lives. When you didn't receive a score on the test that you wanted, how will you react? Focus on what you can control. Don't accept that bad grade. Study hard for the retake and invest more time into your schoolwork. When a friend says something to you that wasn't kind, how will you react? Focus on what you can control. Say something nice back instead of being mean and arguing. When you didn't win a competition, how will you react? Focus on what you can control. See what you did wrong and focus on improving yourself. When a family member abuses your trust, how will you react? Focus on what you can control. Forgive them and move on. Don't hold grudges. When you made a mistake and disappointed yourself, how will you react? Focus on what you can control. Forgive yourself and learn from your mistake. Don't dread on the past. We can improve our lives when we focus on what we can control. We control our reactions. We control our fears. And we can control our lives. Oregon FFA, let's focus on what we can control.
Your 2019. Never mind.
From Zach from the Henley FFA chapter. It's not easy to describe Keegan in one word, so that's why we use this quote. A heart that overflows may seek merrymaking and boisterous festivities to quietly rejoice, unnoticed, admits, and revealing words. I met Keegan during his short stint at our chapter during the leadership tour. He was boisterous and outgoing and spoke to everyone, 4th years, 1st years, and anyone who would listen. He showed every quality that one should expect from a state officer, and then some. And some parting advice from Keegan, practice bowling a bit more. Meg from the Central Oregon. Keegan is an easy person to get to know. He excels at reaching out to all members. His continuous laugh and spunky attitude are always present with him. The first time I met Keegan was at the state fair in 2018. He had just flown in from Australia, but the jet lag didn't faze him, and he still managed to be the outgoing person we all know him as. When Keegan visited my school this winter, he made sure every student who walked in our classroom felt welcomed. He may have argued for 2 class periods or more on whether dinner or breakfast is better, but we put aside our differences and had the best gingerbread house. Keegan radiates pure enthusiasm and passion for the FFA and all things agriculture. Through his experience inspired many members, including myself. Thank you for your year of service to the Oregon FFA.
Oregon FFA, your 2019-2020 State Treasurer, Mr. Keegan Gibbs. Well, that means our time together is coming to an end. We really have created our own masterpiece in this session by recognizing our outstanding State Alumni Council, whose background work does not go unrecognized, adding in focal points, highlights, and details by discovering the results of our State State Ag Youth Awareness Fair, hearing a presentation of the FFA Creed, and finally added the top coat with the retiring address of our State Treasurer, Keegan Gibbs. We would like to extend a special thank you to our session sponsor, Brabanza Ranch, and star partner, Les Schwab, for their support. But for now, I think it's time that we put our signature on this session. Just like Bob Ross left his legacy through painting, I know each of us will continue to go on and create our own masterpiece. Now, why don't we flip this around and see how far we've come? From the background to the clouds, the focal points, highlights, and all the little details, we really have created something truly remarkable. We look forward to seeing you right back here for the 5th session of convention, where we will recognize our parents during State Officer Parent Recognition, present scholarships, discover the results from our proficiency awards, and finally, hear the retiring address of yours truly. Oregon FFA, let's continue to create our masterpiece.